It's a global first, it's an India Today exclusive, and it's the biggest exclusive of the year 2025. Russian President Vladimir Putin, India's all-weather ally. India-Russia ties extremely strong under Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Russian President Vladimir Putin. They're getting stronger. He, of course, President Putin, is a global power figure. He stood by Delhi through thick and thin. He speaks to an Indian network for the very first time. And ahead of his India visit, President Putin has spoken. He's candid, forthright. It's a no-holds-barred interview. It's unfiltered, it's unrestrained, it's uncensored. Initially scheduled for about 60 minutes, but it's a 100-minute chat. From the Ukraine war to US President Donald Trump's threats, nothing's off the table. And this is a global super exclusive. This is going to make headlines across the world, not just in India. It's not just about India-Russia ties. It's about Russia and the world. The mega agenda-setting interview is already creating waves across the world. It's being watched very closely because President Putin has chosen India's most viewed network, India Today. President Putin, like never before, the unmissable interview comes up at 9 p.m. tonight.
Do you want to go back to being a part of the G8? Because that's a lot, there are a lot of reports on that. So is that something that Russia is looking at?
So, what did he say? You'll have to wait for 9 p.m. But we will tell you what transpired at the Kremlin. And India Today had a big team in Kremlin. We'll get you every bit of that. We'll also get you the mood, the morale, the conversations behind the scenes because BTS is big. I have India Today's Pranay Upadhyay, editor India Today Global, joining me on this broadcast in a moment. We'll also be joined by Sandeep Unnithan because India-Russia defense ties are extremely strong. They promise to get stronger with each visit, whether it's of Prime Minister Narendra Modi to Russia or the Russian president's visit to India. The annual summit, not only does it help both the countries reaffirm their partnership, the friendship, and a friendship that stood the test of time, irrespective of the government, whether in India or in Russia. Of course, in the past 11 years, it's become stronger. But do keep in mind, President Putin has been at the helm of affairs for a quarter of a century. For 25 years, he's been at the helm of affairs in Russia, and he's steered Russia through thick and thin. Now, in the West, he's made out to be a villain. In Russia, he clearly is not, and clearly not for Russia's friends and allies and all-weather friends like India. And I quickly want to cut across to Moscow and bring in India Today's Geeta Mohan with that world exclusive. Geeta Mohan joins us from right outside Kremlin. This road is so well lit. It's just before Christmas. And what a scoop, Geeta. What a scoop. Can't wait to hear what President Putin said. But describe to us that conversation, Geeta, speaking to one of the most powerful men in the world. Something, I mean, whatever he says, the world wants to listen. It's not just India, Russia.
Well, everybody's been waiting to hear President Putin, and in some time from now, we will be listening to the entire conversation, Gaurav, of what he spoke. It was a no-holds-barred interview. President Putin took all questions, the tough ones too, and he responded to every aspect, not just of India-Russia ties, given the fact that he's going to go to India today. It is also about the fact that he addressed all global issues. We did not stop at bilateral. We did not stop at President Putin's visit to India. We spoke about the region. We spoke about the war. In fact, the wars, the Russia-Ukraine war, Israel-Palestine, all of that and more. And more importantly, I'm sure you've heard him talk about or respond to questions from Western media on Trump, the United States of America. Here will be a very interesting perspective on how he put things on Donald Trump. not characterizing him, certainly not character assassinating him as they do in the West. But yes, speaking of him in perspective, in context of things that are going on, the fact that America is engaging Russia and
Yes.
where are they headed. Also, you know, we were in Moscow, we were at the Kremlin on a very historic day, the day Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff were meeting President Putin just a few rooms away. And then the next day, the interview was held. So this is a historic moment in Russia-America ties, as it always has been, no matter what, when it comes to India-Russia. They were just a few rooms away, and the first time Jared Kushner at the Kremlin meeting with President Putin, that meeting was taking place. So yes, he did speak in detail of what that conversation really constituted, not in terms of exactly what they've decided, but more so to do with how they're going to go about things, where they're going to go.
He's very laid back, isn't he? He's very calm. As a world leader, he weighs every word, and he's not rattled. I mean, he's former KGB, he's a judo expert, so he knows what the next move is. He games the opponent, and that's why when, you know, everyone thought Russia's losing, he was very clear Russia is winning, and 3 years down the line, he's on top.
Absolutely. And he is being engaged. We did ask him questions about isolation because, you know, every now and again we see reports of how Russia stands isolated. In fact, the question over here was not just about Russia, whether if it was isolated or not. There are reports that we saw recently of Russia wanting to be a part of the G7 and it go back to becoming a G8 bloc. When we asked him that, he very clearly said no. He's not interested. That he's not interested in being a part of any bloc where there are constraints and where they're not willing to listen to what he has to say. Absolute clarity on NATO expansion. In fact, my colleague Anjana is also here. It was brilliant, also because when you're interviewing alone, you know exactly, you've read the room, you're in control. But when you're two people, Anjana, then it becomes different. But we struck it off. It was comfortable. It was brilliant. We held our ground on what we wanted to ask, and we took the conversation forward.
Absolutely. And I think, Geeta, the most important thing was to get the symphony right. Because we had to, go ahead with the interview in a way that we were complimenting each other rather than contradicting. And I think that worked.
Okay. She's trying to be a little bit of Putin here by not putting her mic back. So can you just do that? And we'll take the conversation forward. The important aspect over here is that the conversation focused on bilateral, where he did laud Prime Minister Narendra Modi. In fact, you will hear him speak about his experience with India and how important India is. To everything, interestingly, he gives a historical perspective. You ask him any question, there's always a bit of history attached to it. And so he did go back and speak about the fact that India-Russia ties are not new. They're not recent. They're very important. And that they have remained engaged through thick and thin of times.
Yes.
And that's what makes this relationship unique and beautiful. But more so, he did speak about the contribution of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He lauded Prime Minister Narendra Modi. There's a point when I asked him about prime ministers and who really enhanced relations between India and Russia. He, in fact, stayed on the subject of PM Modi and said that India is lucky to have him and that he's really steered India in the right direction. He said, Prime Minister Modi, if the administration is listening to us, Prime Minister Modi lives, breathes, thinks India. So that's a very significant statement for a world leader to be noticing what another world leader and how another world leader looks at his country and his country's interests. So again, a very important perspective. I'll call Anjana back because this is a conversation that we had together, and it has been a very, very important and an interesting one. On regional issues and on world politics, it has been a very, it was an engaging conversation because he did speak at length. Anjana asked him about NATO expansion, and he was very clear that there is, that it is a threat to Russian security, and this was a promise that was made to the Soviet Union, that there is going to be no eastward expansion, and therefore
Yes.
there cannot be one. The question on Donald Trump and is he a peacemaker? He actually spoke quite candidly. He said that, well, he does see intention. He said he might have made claims because we talked about all the 8 claims that he's made of having stopped wars and brokering peace. He said he might have made claims on other aspects. I can't talk about them, but on Russia, Ukraine, I am quite certain that he has the intention to bring about a negotiated settlement and peace between the two countries. So very, very interesting
However,
perspective
you know, when
over
you
there
talk
in terms
about
of
Europe,
how they wanted to
yes,
take things forward, peace forward.
So, you know, he wants peace, President Trump wants peace. That's the implication, or that's the message that we seem to be getting. What about Europe? You know, because there are many in Europe who want to take this war forward. They want to continue funding Ukraine, fighting with, you know, arming Ukraine in a way to take on Russia. And there are some in NATO who say, you know, preemptive strikes on Russia are also possible. Now, President Putin is very clear. That's again a war that Europe will lose, isn't he?
Well, absolutely. And he actually, in many ways than one, said that many of them will have nothing should this war come to an end. So that's a telling statement and commentary on how he perceives and he looks at Europe. I'm saying this not because the Europeans do not want an end to the war. That's not for journalists to really say. But I do say this, that he is engaged in conversations with DC, and he's making that point very, very clearly. He's saying that we told the Ukrainians that there is no NATO promise, and because that's the question I asked him, that he was promised NATO, he was that Ukraine was promised a European Union membership. He said, where is all that? Nothing really moved forward. Nothing really came for Ukraine. In fact, if there was no support that would have come for Ukraine, there would be no Ukraine in many ways than one. So yes, he did speak of the messaging and the message that he sent across, not just to Europe but also to DC, and in conversations, that there are red lines and that they're not going to give up on those red lines. Of course, he did not specify exactly what those red lines are, but there's a very important thing he said. He said that the 28-point proposal of Trump, because we thought it was it was thrown out of the window and it's not on the table anymore. But he said, no, it is still on the table. The only difference is that they've made it into 4 packages and they're going to deal with it in those 4 packages. He did not elaborate on what those 4 packages would look like or would mean. So a very important aspect over there. But then in terms of Western bullying, in terms of how the West is looking at this entire relationship.
Yes, before I let you go,
there is a very
Geeta,
important thing he said when I asked him about tariffs.
Yes. No, go on, complete your point.
Yeah, on tariffs, a very important point that he made, which we are talking about, but he goes further. He says, well, the relationship is between India and the United States of America. They have weaponized tariff. They've been using it against every country. But more importantly, why they're stopping India from buying oil when America continues to buy nuclear fuel from Russia? That's a very important aspect. He's saying, he spoke of the double standards of the West here.
Absolutely, and more on that interview comes up at 9 p.m. tonight. I wanted to understand from you, Geeta, what's the Christmas spirit like in Moscow right now? It's so well lit behind you. Are people happy? Are people excited despite years of sanction? How are they dealing with this? Or have they overcome that now entirely, Geeta?
Well, it would be very different if I were in some of the border areas of Russia, but Moscow is absolutely different. A lot of people don't really understand and realize how important Christmas is in Moscow. In fact, even my team, when I was asking them and when I was telling them that when you go there, you'll see a very lit up Moscow, they said, well, we've seen all the other European countries. It's unlike any European countries, unlike any other country. They celebrate Christmas from 1st of December. It goes on up till January because their Christmas does not fall on 25th December. It falls on 7th of Jan. So very beautifully lit. You're only seeing parts of Moscow. It's going to look fantastic closer to Christmas. And 2 weeks from now, this almost feels like a wonderland, like a fairyland, as Kali put it.
We'll come back to you for more. Geeta Mohan and Anjana Om Kashyap for the moment. Many thanks for joining us. That world exclusive comes up at 9 p.m. tonight.